All right. Hello, Miss Bonk. How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Erica, and we're going to be talking a little bit today about you running for office. You are running for Illinois State Rep, correct?
That's correct, in the 30th district.
All right. And can you tell us a little bit about your district, where it is?
It covers Midlothian, a little bit of Oak Forest, a little bit of Tinley Park, Markham, Harvey, Posen, Dixmoor. I know I'm probably forgetting something, but that's pretty much the major areas.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for office?
Well, I decided to for office because I care about our families. I care about our children. I've been a nurse for 44 years, and 30 of that I spent in the ER. I also spent 6 years on a volunteer firefighter. I was only one of two women on the fire department at that time. And I've always been an advocate for my patients.
Have you ever been involved in politics before or run for office before?
I have run for office. It's nonpartisan. I am presently a board member with the Midlothian Library board. I'm a trustee there. I've canvassed for a gubernatorial candidate in the past. My father was actually a trustee on the Lamont Fire Protection District, kind of a family thing, and I canvassed for him back then.
Okay, that's awesome. As far as your candidacy goes and the reasons why you're running, can you tell us just a little bit about what inspired you to go ahead and take the leap and run for office?
Well, one of the issues that I noted, probably it began last year, although I've made multiple calls to Will Davis's office over bills in the past. But the Parental Notification Act, I called and voiced my opinion probably pretty loudly. And this bill involves, and it's now in effect, that if a minor who is pregnant is seeking an abortion, the facility no longer has to notify the parents. And this is not for consent. It's just to notify the parents of their daughter seeking this life-changing decision to abort a child. And it does not make sense to me because working now in a clinic, we have to fill out a written consent for schools to administer Tylenol for our patients. But a daughter wants to make this decision on her own. It just does not make sense to me.
I'm sorry, I was on mute when I was talking.
Okay.
I was perusing your website. I think it was on your website a few days ago. It might have been your Facebook page, but I did see a mention on tax relief. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in your area as far as property taxes and other taxes and what you plan on doing about that?
Well, when I was out knocking on doors during the petition signing, I asked people, what are your main concerns? And one of the concerns I've heard, it's very sad when someone says if they've lived their life, raised their family in Illinois, that they're afraid they can no longer afford their home. They can't pay these ever increasing property taxes. And there are solutions to this. And one of the things, and I put it on Facebook, was the pension crisis, which will only get worse if they pass this Amendment 1. And we're not trying to take retirement benefits away from people that are already in the system. But there is a way, there's a solution, and one of them is called a Tier 3, where it would decrease the amount of contributions that the citizens of Illinois will make to these pension funds by doing what the rest of us do, in the private sector, which is we pay a contribution and we have to pay a little bit more towards our health care benefits and our pensions. I do not see a problem with that. And we want to keep people in Illinois. And if it means doing this so we can make sure they're not paying ridiculously high property taxes, and that's what we should do.
Okay, thank you. And then there was one more topic that I wanted to touch on, which was violence. We've all seen the violence kind of tick up in our communities, or at least it seems like it's ticked up a lot since the pandemic. Coupled with, of course, the way that news disseminates now, everything happens much more quickly. So of course we also hear about everything, but I think that the numbers are overall up in our area, and I'm pretty close to your district as well. And I was wondering what your thoughts are on that, how you plan on helping curb it a little bit, and thinking about what types of things you can implement to prevent violence in the coming years.
Well, that's another thing that when I talk to people knocking on doors, is safety was another issue. We've had gunshots 2 blocks from our home in the middle of the night. We've had a carjacking where a woman was beaten at a gas station that we frequent. So it's a concern for us. It's a concern for residents, as you know, in the area. One thing is to look at the Safety Act. It's the acronym for the bill that was passed. And there are components that I agree with, but there are components that I do not. And I feel that we need to revisit that bill, revise it. Number one is the so-called no cash bail. I think there should be some consequences. We've seen so much where somebody is out on the street, they're already a felon, they're already awaiting a trial, and they're either carjacking or shooting or beating somebody. That should not happen. Our citizens need to be safe. Another component that I'm concerned about is trespassing. If someone trespasses on your property, the police can come, give them a ticket, don't necessarily have to remove them from the property, which means they can stay. And this concerns me, being a nurse and having taken care of women who were physically abused or sexually abused, raped. I worry about the stalking aspect, that might be part of that. If they don't remove this person from the property, what's the chances that something's going to happen to harm someone within the home? I took care of a woman who actually had her head beat up against the sidewalk in front of her 2 children. So I'm concerned that part of the bill needs to be revised or taken out.
Thank you so much. Oops, hang on one second here. Sorry, I lost my screen.
Okay.
Trying to get back to you.
Don't you love technology?
Everything is wonderful until it's not. All right. All right. And one last question. As far as your district goes and where you live, what are the most important issues that you see that you can solve right there in your backyard immediately when you take office?
Well, other than working on the safety and strengthening our police departments, and obviously they can do training to de-escalate the situation, whether they need social service advocates to go with them in certain situations, that's perfectly fine. So I think to have the police make sure the training is efficient, and make sure that maybe employing these social service advocates to go to crisis situations, that we can do, I think, pretty quickly.
You think have you seen it implemented anywhere? Do you know if things like this are implemented elsewhere?
I have heard that Mayor Pico in Orland has used that system very successfully. They've had mental health workers come in these crisis situations, and they've been able to de-escalate these situations to prevent any type of violence.
Okay. All right. Very good. I'd be interested to learning more about that. All right. Well, that is all I had for you today, ma'am. It was very, very nice talking to you on Zoom and getting some of your information out here to our voters. I guess we will be seeing you at the polling place very soon.
And probably before then. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
You also.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye.